Hey, you guys requested that I do a video on how to make sourdough pancakes, so I'm at your service. That's what I'm here to do today. It only makes sense because I tell you when I show you how to make sourdough bread, not to throw away your discard starter. So it only makes sense that you say, well, Katie, how do you like to use discard starter? And sourdough pancakes are my favorite way. And there are two main ways that I make my sourdough pancakes, so I will walk you through both of those. One is a sweet pancake, kind of what we think of when we think of like Saturday, Sunday morning pancakes. The other is savory. It's a lot faster with your sourdough starter. It's like wham bam, thank you ma'am. It's so delicious and so easy. And I'm gonna show you both kinds. So there are two kind of main versions that I do. So should we just first do a really quick recap of sourdough starter? I think we should. So this is just water and flour combined together, and after about a week of being very consistent in feeding it, it will form all those microbes and yeast and bacteria, and it becomes your sourdough starter. So once you have that, then you can make your sourdough bread. You also have to continually feed it. And feeding your starter, inherent in doing that, you take part of it away and then feed it. Here's the feeding. And then the part that you did not remove for the feeding is your discard starter. So we're not gonna throw that away, we're going to use it. What I do is I save up my discard starter from the week. I just pop it in a container in the refrigerator every morning when I refeed and have my discard. Then I just put it in the same container. So when weekend comes, I am more than ready to make my sourdough pancakes. And it's something I look forward to every week. So it's kind of perfect. So you just cannot go wrong with pancakes and sourdough pancakes. The sourdough is very subtle, but it is there and it gives it almost like more depth of flavor. Also, you didn't waste your discard, so that's a delicious thing too. Sourdough pancakes number 1. I make these by measuring the ingredients by weight rather than by cups because it's more accurate and easier. But I will give you the cup measurements here and in the description box below because I love you. To start, get your flour, whole milk, yogurt, sugar, and starter out. So now, you will measure 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, that's 150 grams of plain flour. 1/2 cup or 122 grams of whole milk. 1/4 cup or 60 grams of plain Greek yogurt. 1/4 cup or 50 grams of granulated sugar. And for the sourdough starter, like I said, I collect the discard through the week in a jar in the fridge. When it's time to make pancakes, I just grab that. So you'll want 1/2 cup or 105 grams of sourdough starter. So then it goes in the fridge overnight. Waiting is totally optional, but it's really going to wake up the microbes in our discard starter. The next day, you will need 2 tablespoons or 42 grams of melted butter, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda, and 2 eggs separated. The reason we separate our yolks from whites is because, based on this article by Kristen McGlory on Food 52, adding the white at the end of mixing together the batter goes a long way in the fluffiness factor. You've probably also heard the theory of beating the egg whites in this first step, which I've also done, and more on that theory in a bit. First, for the sake of this recipe, just separate the yolks and egg whites. Add the egg yolks. Combine well. Finally, mix in those egg whites. I like using my non-stick skillet with a knob of butter on it, and I pour a ladleful of batter on that. I let the top get bubbly, and when I see little holes form, especially around the edges, then I check to see the coloration on the bottom. When it's golden brown, I flip it. I am constantly adjusting my burner when I'm making pancakes, turning it up, turning it down, because you don't want burnt pancakes. You want it to get that nice, perfectly brown situation. And to do that, if you're making a whole batch of pancakes here, you're gonna need to adjust. So just remember that, keep an eye on it, check underneath, be attentive. I love watching the pancake poof up a bit. All the chemistry of those ingredients together working beautifully. And then it's always less time on the second half and I move it to a cooling rack. Okay, now I was just thinking I would leave it at that, right? My go-to sourdough pancakes with the typical all-purpose flour, butter, etc. But there's another pancake recipe that I really love that I'm gonna share. So let's call this like 1.5. These are my quirky pancakes. You know I love to call them that. They are my einkorn pancakes. Einkorn is an ancient wheat and it has less gluten than a lot of other flours. I also find it's kind of finicky to work with. It's a little more challenging to bake bread with, which is also possible, but I find it really perfect to make something like pancakes. Nutritionally, it's high in vitamins, proteins, antioxidants, and it's got a lot of natural oils still in it, as evidenced by when I clump it with my hand, it kind of stays together. Flavor-wise, it's a bit sweeter and a bit nuttier than all-purpose flour. I mix together the same ingredients as before for the overnight fermentation. Sugar, yogurt, milk, starter, and this overnight waiting step is even more important when you use einkorn flour because einkorn absorbs hydration, water, and fats a little slower than an all-purpose flour. So the next day when it's time to make pancakes, another twist I'm known to do is add oil rather than melted butter. I use melted coconut oil. Then again, baking soda, baking powder, sea salt, and vanilla extract. When it comes to separating the yolks and whites, sometimes if I've got a lot of energy, I'll beat the egg whites until they form stiff peaks. So the point of doing this is to incorporate more air into it. But like I said before, it's not 100% necessary. You won't see a massive difference from the lazier version I just showed you. Right, so I fold in the yolks and the stiff egg whites, and then it's time to make my einkorn pancakes. The thing that I love about beating the egg whites first is that you can actually see these pancakes poof up. I just think it's beautiful in the pan. You can tell they have more body, more fluff. But in all honesty, when you take them off the pan and they cool, there's not a massive difference between these and the ones where you simply add the egg yolk last. Delicious, light, flavorsome pancakes either way. With a drizzle of maple syrup, I say welcome to the weekend. If you won't eat the whole batch that day, you can freeze them, and then as you'll be consuming them, you can take them out of the freezer and pop them in the oven to warm them up. Okay, thank you for rolling with my einkorn pancakes. Now let's get to the savory sourdough pancakes. I actually just made some right here. These are my kimchi savory sourdough pancakes. They're so good. Pancakes number 2, this is a savory pancake. It's way easier, honestly. There is way less forethought going into this because you just take that sourdough starter discard that is in your fridge that's built up for however many days, and you're going to put that directly onto a hot pan. A hot non-stick pan works best for this. You're gonna make some savory pancakes. I got this genius idea from my buddy Mike Greenfield. You know him. He's over at Pro Home Cook's YouTube channel.
But recently I figured out the best thing to do with it, which is to just pour it right into a pan and make a scallion pancake. So let me just take you through real quick what I do every single day when I have to pour some of this off.
He is the man when it comes to fermentation. He actually has come on my podcast, the Keep It Quirky podcast. I'll link to it below, where he talks about all things sourdough and fermentation. You know, kombucha, kimchi, the whole lot. So he's great. We've also done some videos together and I will link to them all below. But Back on topic, Katie, Savory Sourdough Pancakes. So he did these scallion pancakes he showed, and my go-to is incorporating some homemade kimchi that I frequently have on hand here, putting that on top of my sourdough starter as it's cooking, and Connor and I both love this one. It is a quick, easy go-to lunch for us. It has been anyway in quarantine. Mike, you're a genius. I don't know if you came up with this, but if you did, I bow to you. And yeah, everyone, this should be probably your #1 way of using up sourdough discard on a lazy day. Sourdough pancakes #2. For this, you literally pour your discard sourdough starter, the one that I mentioned I add to and save throughout the week, directly onto a hot skillet. But as it's cooking, my go-to addition on top is my homemade kimchi. Of course, it doesn't have to be homemade. I've also used homemade sauerkraut here. You can put some butter or oil on the skillet if you want. I think it gives a nice golden brown color to the pancake. Sometimes I add white sesame seeds. It's like a little ribbon on top. It's probably time to flip when there are holes on the top of the pancakes and it's dried out along the edges. You can simply eat it just like this, or you can add other things after it's cooked. We've got a special guest sous chef today. We almost do make it into like a taco situation, put other stuff in it, make it like that. Is that how you eat your tacos? I don't know.
Yeah, dude.
All right, I hope you guys got something out of this video. Thank you for watching. As always, thanks for hanging out with me. I love you guys. You're super cool. I'm gonna write a song for you right now, just like off the top of my head. Let me get my guitar. This is how much I love you guys. I'm just, you know. This is called the Sourdough Pancake song / you should subscribe to my channel. Sourdough pancakes are delicious. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the button and subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that you're all doing well, staying healthy and happy, most importantly, and eating really, really well. All right, I'll see you guys back here real soon. Bye. Don't forget to keep it quirky.